Recording in progress.
Okay, so good evening. Good evening, Rakesh. Good evening, Shejit. So yesterday we saw about the uh, what do you call as the impact of the beliefs which we have, and the author said three important things about the beliefs. Basically, they have a life, and you should basically they will try to resist if you try to change it. Then every belief will demand to be expressed, and and they keep working whether you are aware or not. And so as a result, you should not try to resist it. You should just basically try to you know make it not functionable by replacing with another belief, and keep passing that energy there. And since every belief is demanding expression, what is happening is that they're all um, conflicting, and you have to put some extra effort to come out of it. And that is when you will experience what author calls as creative experience. And so for that, you need to put a lot of effort, and you have to question your beliefs, you have to question your expectations, and you have to truly believe that every moment in the market is unique, right? So the third one, author said that uh, you might not be aware of certain things, but they will be working unconsciously about that. And for that, the third one, continuation of this third one, author said about self-valuation and how much you actually you think about yourself, and our personal beliefs from our childhood about our beliefs about money, about becoming rich. And if we start hating money because of our upbringing and childhood, we might do some mistakes, and or that mistakes will be like, instead of going for a buy, we'll do a sell. Or if the market might be giving opportunity, but we will close the trade and go thinking that it's not for us. And or we will hit some um drawdown, and we will tell that it's not, our luck is no longer applicable for us. Okay, so now today we'll see the what is the exercise which the author was trying to tell to undo these beliefs. Thinking like a trader. If you ask me to distill trading down to its simplest form, I would say that it is a pattern recognition numbers game. We use market analysis to identify the patterns, define the risk, and determine when to take profits. The trade either works or it does not. In any case, we go on to the next trade. It is that simple, but it is certainly not easy. In fact, trading is probably the hardest thing you will ever attempt to be successful at. That is not because it requires intellect, quite the contrary, but because the more you think you know, the less successful you will be. Trading is hard because you have to operate in a state of not having to know, even though your analysis may turn out at times to be perfectly correct. To operate in a state of not having to know, you have to properly manage your expectations. To properly manage your expectations, you must realign your mental environment so that you believe without a shadow of doubt in the five fundamental truths. So, the five fundamental truths we saw in the eighth chapter, right? So, uh, I think we will go and recollect. But before we recollect, I'll just explain this paragraph. So the author is telling that um, it is actually you have to remember the patterns. That's all, right? And it is actually, it might sound simple, but it's not actually. simple, and because it doesn't require your intelligence or intellectual, because every time you have to, it is random, right? So the author is telling that you should not operate in a zone of, you know something, but you should actually operate in a zone of you don't know something, right? And that is how you have to, do the trading. And so for that, you have to manage your expectations, because if you think that you know something, obviously, uh, your expectations will be there. So, but then you will get burned. So this is where you have to realign our mental environment. So that are the five fundamental truths. So the five fundamental truths, we saw it in chapter 7, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So these are all the five fundamental truths. So basically, what are the five fundamental truths? Anything can happen. Okay. You don't need to know what is going to happen next in order to make money. There is a random distribution between wins and losses for any given set of variables that define an edge. An edge is nothing more than an indication of a higher probability of one thing happening over another, and every moment in the market is unique, right? So basically, it is like, anything can happen and every moment is unique. And these are all more or less same. And we don't know what is going to happen. And there is a random distribution. You can win or you can lose. Anything can happen. And but only thing which is there is that, you have an edge, right? So these are all the five fundamental truths the author is, asking us to think. Okay. So we have to always keep those things in our mind, right? In this chapter, I'm going to give you a trading exercise that will integrate these truths about the market at a functional level in your mental environment. In the process, I'll take you through the three stages of development of a trader. The first stage is the mechanical stage. In this stage, you build the self-trust necessary to operate in an unlimited environment, learn to flawlessly execute a trading system, train your mind to think in probabilities, and create a strong, unshakable belief in your consistency as a trader. Okay. Once you have completed this first stage, you can then advance to the subjective stage of trading. In this stage, you use anything you have ever learned about the nature of market movement to do whatever it is you want to do. There is a lot of freedom in this stage, so you will have to learn how to monitor your susceptibility to make the kind of trading errors that are the result of any unresolved self-valuation issues I referred to in the last chapter. So, and there is the third stage. The third stage is the intuitive stage. Trading intuitively is the most advanced stage of development. It is the trading equivalent of earning a black belt in the martial arts. The difference is that you can't try to be intuitive because intuition is spontaneous. It does not come from what we know at a rational level. The rational part of our mind seems to be inherently mistrustful of information received from a source that it does not understand. Sensing that something is about to happen is a form of knowing that is very different from anything we know rationally. I have worked with many traders who frequently had a very strong intuitive sense of what was going to happen next, only to be confronted with the rational part of themselves that consistently argued for another course of action. Of course, if they had followed their intuition, they would have experienced a very satisfying outcome. Instead, what they ended up with was usually very unsatisfactory, especially when compared with what they otherwise perceived as possible. The only way I know of that you can try to be intuitive is to work at setting up a state of mind most conducive to receiving and acting on your intuitive impulses. So, the author is going to give us a trading exercise that will basically make us put those five fundamental truths uh, in our mental environment, and for to take to make us go through the trading exercise, the author is telling that will take us through three stages of development. The first stage is the mechanical stage. Mechanical stage is where you first trust. Okay. yourself to operate in an unlimited environment, right? The second one is that you basically execute a trading system, right? And we have to keep on thinking in terms of probabilities. It can fail. That trading system can fail also, and create a strong, unshakable belief in your consistency as a trader, right? So it's more of a you know mechanical way of doing things, right? Just follow the trading system. The second stage is the subjective stage. Subjective stage is where you basically use anything you have learned and do whatever is needed to do. Okay. So at this particular point, you will have a lot of freedom. Here it is very mechanical. Like you just follow. If it comes there, you do it. If it goes there, you don't do it. If you take a loss, hit a stop loss, get out, things like that. Okay. But here it is more of you do some analysis, you apply whatever patterns and applications and all these things, and try to get new opportunities. But here the author is asking us to be little bit careful because we might have those self-evaluation issues which we said, right? So we have to be very careful. The third stage where the author says is the intuitive stage, and it is like it is the advanced stage of trading. Okay, and the author says that intuitive, it is very spontaneous. It doesn't come from a rational level. All these are things are rational, right? You do mechanically these things, repeat the same thing. And here you have some patterns, and it will make you take a trade. And here it is more of a intuition, where there is no rationality involved, and and basically the rational part of our mind, it doesn't like information which it cannot understand, right? So you basically sense this particular information, right? So you sense something is about to happen. That is the intuitive stage of this thing. And but what happens is you know you have to the author is telling that your rational mind will try to take over, but you will not be happy. And you have to what you have to tell is that the author is telling that you have to set up the mind such that which will basically act based on your intuition. Okay, that comes from practice. So the authors will see what those three stages are. The first one is the mechanical stage. The mechanical stage of trading is specifically designed to build the kind of trading skills, trust, confidence, and thinking in probabilities that will virtually compel you to create consistent results. I define consistent results as a steadily rising equity curve with only minor drawdowns that are the natural consequence of edges that did not work. Other than finding a pattern that puts the odds of a winning trade in your favor, achieving a steadily rising equity curve is a function of systematically eliminating any susceptibility you may have to making the kind of fear, euphoric, or self-valuation based trading errors I have described throughout this book. Eliminating the errors and expanding your sense of self-valuation will require the acquisition of skills that are all psychological in nature. So the mechanical stage is basically a stage where the author is telling that it will basically try to make you consistent results, right? So the curve of your balance in your trading account should keep on growing. There might be minor drawdowns, but actually you have to keep on. That is what the author says as the consistent results, right? And so instead of finding a you know uh, so in this stage, the author is telling that of course you have to find a pattern which will give you the edge, but you should also susceptibility. Susceptible means likely. Okay, so you should try to eliminate you know uh, you know trying to make either you should not put yourself in stages which are making you scared or making you euphoric. Okay. So I think we get these kind of things when our position size is more, right? So if we win huge, then we will get euphoric. If we lose huge, we will get scared. So the author is trying to tell that only. Okay, so don't do something which will do these things at the initial stage, the mechanical stage, right? So eliminating the errors and expanding your sense of self-valuation will require the acquisition of skills that are all psychological in nature. Okay, so you have to basically eliminate the errors and expand your self-valuation, right? The skills are psychological because each one in its purest form is simply a belief. Remember that the beliefs we operate out of will determine our state of mind and shape our experiences in ways that constantly reinforce what we already believe to be true. How truthful a belief is can be determined by how well it serves us. That is, the degree to which it helps us satisfy our objectives. If producing consistent results is your primary objective as a trader, then creating a belief, a conscious, energized concept that resists change and demands expression that I am a consistently successful trader will act as a primary source of energy that will manage your perceptions, interpretations, expectations, and actions in ways that satisfy the belief and consequently the objective. Okay. So the author is telling that, you have to, uh, make, uh, you have to find, of course, you have to, implement this trading system, but ensure that it is not creating euphoria in you or it is causing fear in you. Okay. And not only that, the skill are which is needed to make these things are psychological, right? And because it is also a belief, right? What is the belief? That the belief which we are going to have is I am a consistently successful trader. Okay, so you have some belief. What are the beliefs? You should not have loss. You should always be successful. These kind of things. That is not the belief. The belief is telling that you should, just like how he said, you should remove the energy from those beliefs and put the energy in this belief, which is basically what it is trying to tell. It will serve you well, right? How truthful a belief can be determined by how well it serves. That is the degree to which it helps us satisfy our objectives, right? So the author is telling that instead of having those beliefs, have this belief. This will have the primary source of energy. Let that belief be there. You have the belief of, you should consistently win, you should keep making money, you should not lose. All these things, let it be there. But the primary source of energy, let this belief be there. Okay. I am a consistently successful trader, right? So that will manage your perception. That will manage your interpretation. That will manage your expectation. Okay. And that will manage your action. So every time when you take a trade, tell to yourself that I'm not going to win or lose in this. I am just going to doing this trade so that I am consistent. Okay. So then what will happen? Your stop loss and all these things, your perception, even if I lose, this is what I will lose. If I win, that is what I will win. So these kind of things will come into your mind. Creating a dominant belief that I am a consistently successful trader requires adherence to several principles of consistent success. Some of these beliefs, principles will undoubtedly be in direct conflict with some of the beliefs you have already acquired about trading. If this is the case, then what you have is a classic example of beliefs that are in direct conflict with desire. Okay. So what is going to happen? I mean, I myself could visualize this. Uh, we have to reduce our position size. And but what is the problem? Our core belief I have, it is going to be directly in conflict because I want to make money. I don't want to lose money. I want to become rich. I want to become rich quickly, right? I want to be greed. I mean, that is basically greed, right? So all these things are going to come into conflict. Okay. So that is what the author is telling. So obviously now I have to decrease my position size. But if I decrease my position size, my profits will also come down. Obviously, my loss will come down, but my profits will come down. But then it is a waste of time. I'll think like that. But that is how I can be consistent. But it is going to come into conflict with my belief that I have to make more money. My time is more, my worth is more. These kind of things are going to come, right? So this is the classic example of beliefs that are conflict, direct conflict with desire. The energy dynamic here is no different from what it was for the boy who wanted to be like the other children who were not afraid to play with dogs. He desired to express himself in a way that he found, at least initially, virtually impossible. To satisfy his desire, he had to step into an active process of transformation. His technique was simple. He tried as hard as he could to stay focused on what he was trying to accomplish, and little by little, he deactivated the conflicting belief and strengthened the belief that was consistent with his desire. Okay. So, how he did it? Okay. So, how he did? So, just like the boy who was who had a bad experience with the dog, and he just wants to. He's now seeing the other boys having a good time with another dog. So, for that, it is his now there is a conflict, right? uh, it was actually very difficult for him, right? So for that, what he has to do, he had to transform himself, right? He had to step into an active process of transformation. Okay, the technique was simple. What is that he do? He tried as hard as he could to stay focused on what he was trying to accomplish. So in this case, instead of uh, thinking about the past experience, he is putting his effort to stay focused. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to open up. I'm going to my you know I'm going to accomplish this concept of I'm being friendly with some dogs, right? And little by little, he deactivated the conflicting belief, right? And strengthened the belief that was consistent with his desire, right? So what is the so by staying focused on this new thing, he actually deactivated the old belief. That belief is there, but it is now deactivated, right? And he strengthened this new belief, right? Which is consistent with his desire. Okay. So we have the same kind of thing. What is my old belief? I have to be successful. I have to make a lot of profits. I should never make loss. These are all my old beliefs. What is the new belief? I am just going to be consistently successful. Okay. That is a new belief, right? So I don't want huge profits. I don't want huge loss. I'm going to learn. I'm going to, you know, stay focused on that and little by little, right? I don't want to completely shatter those uh, beliefs immediately. What I will do, I'll stay focused on being consistently successful. That is what I'm going to do. At some point, if that is your desire, then you will have to step into the process of transforming yourself into a consistent winner. When it comes to personal transformation, the most important ingredients are your willingness to change, the clarity of your intent, and the strength of your desire. Ultimately, for this process to work, you must choose consistency over every other reason or justification you have for trading. If all of these ingredients are sufficiently present, then regardless of the internal obstacles you find yourself up against, what you desire will eventually prevail. Okay. So then at some point, we have to step into the process of transforming ourselves into consistent winner. Okay. Transforming ourselves into consistent winner. Okay. And how to do that? How to transform yourself, right? First, the willingness to change, the clarity of your intent, and the strength of your desire. Okay. Are you first ready to change? That is the first thing. And how clear our intentions are, how bad, and what is the strength of this desire? What is the how strong your desires are, right? So these three are the things. the first important ingredients. Ultimately, for this process to work, you must choose consistency over every other reason or justification you have for trading. If all of these ingredients are sufficiently present, then regardless of the internal obstacles you find yourself up against, what you desire will eventually prevail. Okay. If you have all these three ingredients, that is the willingness to change, the clarity of your intent, and the strength of the desire should be strong. Okay. If you have all these three ingredients and they are sufficiently present, even though you have some internal obstacles, these will ensure that our desire of transforming ourselves will happen. That is what the author is trying to tell. So, for this, what we need to do? We need to observe yourself. Okay. The first step in the process of creating consistency is to start noticing what you're thinking, saying, and doing. Why? Because everything we think, say, or do as a trader contributes to and therefore reinforces some belief in our mental system. Because the process of becoming consistent is psychological in nature. It should not come as a surprise that you will have to start paying attention to your various psychological processes. Okay. So, to be a consistent trader in the mechanical stage, you have to first observe yourself, right? And how do you observe you? You start noticing what you're thinking, saying, and doing. Okay. Because whatever we think, whatever we say, and whatever we do as a trader, they contribute, right? And what is happening, that is again going to sit inside our mind, right? As a memory. We might tell something, we might say, think something, we might do something, right? That is going to sit in our mind, right? So that is going to reinforce also. It might, if not just whatever is there, that is going to get stronger because the process of becoming consistent is psychological in nature. It should not come as a surprise that you will have to start paying attention to your various psychological process. Okay. So the process of consistent is a psychological thing, right? So you have to be very careful with what your psychology is, what your thinking is, what you are doing, what you are saying. Okay. So you have to keep telling that you have to be consistent. You have to keep thinking that you have to be consistent. You have to keep doing that you have to be consistent. These are all the things. That is what will keep reinforcing your belief, right? The idea is eventually to learn to become an objective observer of your own thoughts, words, and deeds. Your first line of defense against committing a trading error is to catch yourself thinking about it. Of course, the last line of defense is to catch yourself in the act. If you don't commit yourself to becoming an observer to these processes, your realizations will always come after the experience, usually when you are in a deep state of deep regret, in a state of deep regret and frustration. Okay. So the author is asking us to, observe our own thoughts, words, and deeds. Okay. Objectively. Your the first thing which you need to do is you should catch yourself when you are doing a trading error. Okay. Catch yourself when you're doing a trading error, right? When you're thinking itself, right? When you are going to do a trading error, at that time itself, you have to catch. And that is what the author is telling. And the last line is when you do it. When you do it at that time, you have to. So, for example, if you don't observe our own brain, what will happen? We might be tempted to take some trade and we might think, oh, maybe we'll try, or maybe we should give it a shot. Something like that. So that time itself, you have to catch yourself, right? And if you, of course, the last thing is after you take a trade, you took a trade and it's now went down or something, right? So at that time, you have to catch yourself, right? That is the last thing. Okay. If you don't do all these things, what will happen? You will end up in regret and frustration, right? Observing yourself objectively implies doing it without judgment or any harsh criticism as a consequence for what you're noticing about yourself. This might not be so easy for some of you to do considering the harsh judgmental treatment you may have received from other people throughout your life. As a result, one quickly learns to associate any mistake with emotional pain. No one likes to be in a state of emotional pain, so we typically avoid acknowledging what we have learned to define as a mistake for as long as possible. Okay, so the author is telling that if you observe, it means not by catching or telling that you're bad or you're good or something like that. You should basically observe without judgment or any harsh criticism. Okay. So if you are greedy or if you want to quickly make a buck or you are telling yourself, you might be like, oh, look at you, you are now greedy or something like that. Don't do those judgments. Okay. No need to do those judgments, right? Uh, because we have been getting all those judgments from other people throughout our life. Okay. Everybody says that you are good, you're bad, this is good, this is bad, and all this. So don't do that. Don't do what others do to you to by yourself. Okay. So as a result, what happens is, we immediately make any mistake, we associate it with emotional pain. Okay. We immediately tell that, we made a mistake. Oh my God, I lost so much money. Oh my God, I'm a loser. Oh, all these kind of things. Don't do that. So, and no one likes that pain also. You don't like, right? So, we typically avoid acknowledging what we have learned to define as a mistake for as long as possible. Okay. So, because we don't like to be in that pain, we avoid acknowledging that thing, right? We avoid acknowledging that as a mistake, right? Because if we acknowledge it as a mistake, then what will happen? We immediately associate with the pain. Obviously, what is happening? We are judging ourselves that we made a mistake and we are criticizing ourselves, and because that is what others have been doing, right? So, as a result, what is happening? You're not looking at your mistakes also. Not confronting mistakes in our everyday lives usually doesn't have the same disastrous consequences it can have if we avoid confronting our mistakes as traders. Okay. So, if you don't confront your mistakes daily in your usual life, nothing will happen. Okay. You can get away with it. You can you can tell a lie or you can do something stupid and, get away with it. It's not going to create a lot of disastrous consequences, right? But as a trader, what will happen is it will have a disastrous consequence. For example, when I am working with floor traders, the analogy I use to illustrate how precarious a situation they are in is to ask them to imagine themselves walking across a bridge over the Grand Canyon. The width of the bridge is directly related to the number of contracts they trade. So, for example, for a one contract trader, the bridge is very wide, say 20 feet. A bridge 20 feet wide allows you a great deal of tolerance for error. So you don't have to be inordinately careful or focused on each step you take. Still, if you do happen to stumble and trip over the edge, the drop to the canyon floor is 1 mile. Okay. So now the author is telling that, you imagine when you're trading as if you're walking over a huge, Grand Canyon, right? And if you are taking one lot, then your bridge size is very huge, right? It's very wide. But if you are taking, so it is that is the analogy the author is trying to tell. He used to tell to his traders, whenever you are making a trade, think that you are walking over a huge, Grand Canyon, right? So when you have one lot, obviously you will have a lot of tolerance, right? And so you don't have to be very, very careful or focused, right, for each step you take. And even if you make some mistakes, you will not lose, you will not go inside the you will not fall down, right? So it will be just there is a lot of distance between you and the floor, right? So I don't know how many people would walk across a narrow bridge with no guardrails where the ground is a mile down, but my guess is relatively few. Similarly, few people will take the kinds of risks associated with trading on the floor of the futures exchanges. Certainly, a one contract floor trader can do a great deal of damage to himself, not unlike falling off a mile high bridge. But a one contract trader can also give himself a wide tolerance for errors, miscalculations, or unusually violent market moves where he could find himself on the wrong side. Okay. So, so basically it is simple. Take trade with one lot, right? You will not, uh, you will not be, you will have a lot of tolerance, right? And so that is what author is trying to tell. On the other hand, one of the biggest floor traders I've ever worked with trades for his own account with an average position of 500 treasury bond futures at a time. He often puts on a position of well over 1,000 contracts. A position of 1,000 T bond contracts amounts to $31,000 per tick, the smallest incremental price change that a bond contract can make. Of course, T-bond futures can be very volatile and can trade several ticks in either direction in a matter of seconds. Okay, so this is like our bank nifty, right? So author is telling that some of his biggest floor traders, what they do, they take 1,000 contracts, right? 1,000 lots or something like that. So a small movement will actually increase his value by $31,500. So one tick above, it moves above, he will get a profit of 31,500. If it goes one tick below, he will lose 31,500, right? So, so the treasury bond futures, they are very volatile and it can go in this direction or that direction in a matter of seconds, right? So just like our bank nifty. As the size of a trader's position increases, the width of our bridge over the Grand Canyon narrows. In the case of the large bond trader, the bridge has narrowed to the size of a thin wire. Obviously, he has to be extremely well balanced and very focused on each step that he takes. The slightest misstep or gust of wind could cause him to fall off the wire. Next stop, 1 mile down. Okay, so as the position size, as your lot size increases, the bridge size is becoming narrowing down. And huge lot size you have, it is going to be like, you will be walking on a thin wire. So if you just make one step mistake, you will fall 1 mile down. Now, when he is in the trading pit, that tiny misstep or slight gust of wind is the equivalent to one distracting thought. That's all. Just a thought or anything else where he allows himself to lose his focus for even a second or two. In that moment of distraction, he could miss his last favorable opportunity to liquidate his position. The next price level with enough volume to take him out of his trade could be several ticks away, either creating a huge loss or forcing him to give a substantial winning trade back to the market. Okay. So if you, what does it tell that, if you, all you need is one distracting thought. Okay. And what will happen if you have one distraction? That's it. You go down. Okay. And, or you could have lost the opportunity where you could have, the best position for you to liquidate, exit, that you will lose. Or it could be, somewhere huge loss where you'll basically lose a lot of money. Okay. As there won't be any volume. By the time you get out, there is no volume. It is going to give you a significant slippage or whatever. Okay. So if producing consistent results is a function of eliminating errors, then it is an understatement to say that you will encounter great difficulty in achieving your objective if you cannot acknowledge a mistake. Okay. So, yeah. So the author is telling that if obviously this is something very few people can do, and it accounts for why there are so few consistent winners. In fact, the tendency not to acknowledge a mistake is so pervasive throughout mankind, it could lead one to assume that it is an inherent characteristic of human nature. I do not believe this is the case, nor do I believe we are born with the capacity to ridicule or think less of ourselves for making a mistake, miscalculation, or error. Okay. So, if you have to eliminate errors to produce consistent results, right? So then it is very difficult, right? It's an understatement to say that you will encounter great difficulty in objective. But what is our objective? Our objective is to be a consistently successful trader. But to be a consistently successful trader, you have to eliminate errors. And then it means that, it's very difficult, right? How will you eliminate errors? Only if you acknowledge your errors, right? Only if you acknowledge a mistake, then when you will not make the same mistake again, right? Obviously, only very few people can do this, right? And that is why very few are consistent. Okay. If you don't acknowledge a mistake, which is what everybody does, which is so pervasive throughout the mankind, and it it can lead one to assume that it is actually okay. Most of us are not acknowledging our mistake, and it is like we can tell that that is an inherent characteristic. Okay. So we can tell like that, but the author is telling that this is not the case. Okay. And it is not only that, you don't have to think yourself as less just because you made a mistake, miscalculation, or error. Okay. Making mistakes is a natural function of living and will continue to be until we reach a point at which all our beliefs are in absolute harmony with our desires, and all our beliefs are structured in such a way that they are completely consistent with what works from the environment's perspective. Okay. So you will continue to make mistakes, and you will reach a point when all your beliefs are in absolute harmony with our desires. Okay. And they are all structured in a way that they are all completely consistent with what works from the environment's perspective. Okay. So basically, they will align with the environment, right? So if they'll align with the environment such a way that you get consistent, you are consistently, it is working for you, right? What is consistently working for you? Consistently, we have to be successful, right? Obviously, if our beliefs are not consistent with what works from the environment's perspective, the potential for making a mistake is high, if not inevitable. We won't be able to perceive the appropriate set of steps to our objective. Worse, we won't be able to perceive that what we want may not be available, or available in the quantity we desire, or at the time when we want it. Okay. So, if your beliefs are not consistent with what works with your environment, we will keep making mistakes. Okay. So, we won't be able to move towards our objective, right? Not only that, we not only won't be able to move towards the objective, we won't even perceive, okay, that what we are expecting will not be there also, right? So, or what is available at the time when we want it, right? It's more like, you're trying. It's like, you won't. It's not no use, but you'll be trying, right? So uh, that is what your beliefs are not consistent. Okay. On the other hand, mistakes that are result of beliefs that are in conflict with our objectives aren't always apparent or obvious. We know they will act as opposing forces, expressing their versions of the truth on our consciousness, and they can do that in many ways. The most difficult to detect is a distracting thought that causes a momentary lapse in focus or concentration. On the surface, this may not sound significant, but as in the analogy of the bridge over the canyon, when there is a lot at stake, even a slightly diminished capacity to stay focused can result in an error of disastrous proportions. This principle applies whether it is trading, sporting events, or computer programming. When our intent is clear and undiminished by any opposing energy, then our capacity to stay focused is greater, and the more likely it is that we will accomplish our objective. Okay. So, mistakes. So, what here the author is telling is that, if you make mistakes which are because of the beliefs you have, which is conflicting with the objective, they will be acting as opposing forces. Those beliefs will be expressing their version because every belief is going to express, right? And the what is the outcome? You will have a distracting thought. As a result, you will lose the concentration. Okay, so it might seem not significant. Okay, but when you have a lot at stake, right? When you have a huge position size, a small momentary lapse in focus or concentration, that will create disastrous pain. Okay, so it could be in trading, or it could be in sporting or computer programming also. Okay, so when our intent is clear and undiminished by any opposing energy, then our capacity to stay focused is greater. Okay, so you have a clear intention and you don't have any opposing energy, then you will be staying focused, and the more likely is that we will accomplish our objective. Okay, so this is what author is telling. So you have to stay focused. You should not, for that, all your beliefs should be in align with you, right? Else you will lose focus, and what will happen when your position size is small, it won't cause any issues. But when your position size is huge, just like one slip will actually create a huge amount of disaster. Earlier, I defined a winning attitude as a positive expectation of our efforts with an acceptance that whatever results we do get are a perfect reflection of our level of development and what we need to learn to do better. Okay, so basically, winning attitude is that you should have a positive uh, expectation of your effort, but at the same time, if it doesn't, uh, whatever result you get, that is how that is actually accept that reflects what you are, and you should learn better. So that is the winning attitude, right? So what separates the consistently great athletes and performers from everyone else is their distinct lack of fear of making a mistake. The reason they are not afraid is that they don't have a reason to think less of themselves when they do make a mistake, meaning they don't have a reservoir of negatively charged energy waiting to well up and pounce on their conscious thought process, like a lion waiting for the right moment to pounce on its intended prey. Okay. What accounts for this uncommon capacity to quickly move beyond their errors without criticizing themselves? One explanation may be that they grew up with extremely unusual parents, teachers, and coaches who, by their words and examples, taught them to correct their miscalculations and errors with genuine love, affection, and acceptance. I say extremely unusual because many of us grew up with just the opposite experience. We were taught to correct our mistakes or miscalculations with anger, impatience, and a distinct lack of acceptance. Is it possible that for the great athletes, their past positive experiences with respect to mistakes caused them to acquire a belief that mistakes simply point the way to where they need to focus their efforts to grow and improve themselves? Okay. So here the author says about the winning attitude. The winning attitude is that you are going to have a positive expectation of your effort, but if whatever results come, you basically accept that result, telling that that is reflecting who you are and your level of development, and you need to learn. Okay, so but the consistently great athletes and the performers and the successful people is that what makes them different from others is that they are not afraid of making a mistake. Okay, so this is the core, right? uh, because why they don't they are not afraid of making a mistake, because the minute they make a mistake, they don't go into a uh, negative criticism, self-criticizing mode. They don't have that reservoir. They don't have that reservoir of what negatively charged energy. You know, that is there in your mind. That is there in your mind. That is waiting to pounce on you, right? And it is like a lion trying to, pounce on the prey. Just like that, your negatively charged beliefs inside uh, is ready. It's waiting for you to fall so that it will come and pounce on you to tell you that I told you so, right? Something like that, right? And what is that? Why they don't have this? One explanation is that, they have some extremely unusual parents. They have some extremely unusual teachers. They have extremely unusual coaches, right? Who are who brought them up with love and affection, who said that, it is okay if you make mistakes, and even if you make mistakes, that is something which you can look into and accept it and, you know, learn from it. And the author is telling those parents and coaches and teachers are extremely unusual because most of us are not having such kind of parents, right? All our parents, most of our teachers, most of our coaches, what they are do, they simply get angry when we make a mistake. They become impatient and they don't accept, right? So these are all the things. So as a result, the great athletes, what they do, they have the positive experiences with respect to mistakes, and as a result, they won't get scared so easily. With a belief like that, there is no source of negatively charged energy and consequently no source for self-denigrating thoughts. However, the rest of us who did grow up experiencing a plethora of negative reactions to our actions would naturally acquire beliefs about mistakes. Mistakes must be avoided at all costs. There must be something wrong with me if I make a mistake. I must be a screw up. I must be a bad person if I make a mistake, right? So, there is no source of self denigrating thoughts for those great athletes because they don't have those self source of negatively charged energy inside. Okay, but rest of us, we are born, our relatives, our friends, our family, our coaches, teachers, they're all telling one thing, they don't make mistakes, don't make many mistakes, if and as a result, what is happening, that is sitting as a belief in your mind, right? And as a result, what is happening? And there must be something wrong if I make a mistake. That belief is there. Or I must be a screw up. Oh my God, I must be a bad person if I make a mistake. These kind of negative energies are present in our mind. Remember that every thought, word, and deed reinforces some belief we have about ourselves. If by repeated negative self criticism we acquire a belief that we are screw ups, that belief will find a way to express itself in our thoughts, causing us to become distracted and to screw up on our words, causing us to say things about ourselves or about others. If we notice the same characteristics in them that reflect our belief, and on our actions, causing us to behave in ways that are overtly self sabotaging. Okay. So, what is happening if we keep on having that belief? We are repeating that self criticism to ourselves. We are having a belief that we are screw ups, right? What will happen? Every belief will try to express itself, right? So, as a result, that will express itself. That will actually cause us to become distracted. Okay, that will actually cause us to be screw up, right, on our words. Okay, causing us to say things about ourselves or about others. Okay, and if you have that belief, that will cause you to distract, right? That will cause you to screw up. Or if you keep telling on words, right? So basically you're telling uh, to ourselves that I was stupid, or I was made a mistake, or you tell this thing to somebody else also that he made a mistake and he's not good, and that is bad, he made a mistake, that is bad. these kind of things you tell to others also, right? You made a mistake, you are a stupid, you should not be doing this, these kind of things, right? That's again going to act and go inside our belief. Okay. Then, and on our action, then we will behave. How we'll behave? Which will self-sabotage. Okay. So it's some so stop. We have to stop telling to ourselves that we are screw ups. We have to stop telling others that they are screw ups. We have to stop telling to yourself that you should not make mistakes. You have to stop telling others that they should not make mistakes. And that is the exercise which we have to do, right? So, because if you do those things, those are beliefs in your brain, those are beliefs in your mind, right? And what will happen? Those beliefs will also express itself. You won't even know when they are going to express. Just like the previous chapter we saw, beliefs will express randomly. You won't even know, and that will cause sabotage. That will sabotage your, trading positions, right? So if you are going to become a consistent winner, mistakes cannot exist in the kind of negatively charged context in which they are held by most people. Okay. You have to be able to monitor yourself to some degree, and that will be difficult to do if you have the potential to experience emotional pain if and when you find yourself in the process of making an error. Okay. So if you have to be a consistent winner, okay, mistakes cannot exist in the kind of negatively charged context. Okay. So most of us are like, you have to be careful, you should not make any mistakes. Oh my god, no, 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 be careful, don't do that. Oh my god, these kind of negatively charged, right? A mistake, you don't make a mistake, don't be do this, don't do that, don't do this, be careful, these kind of things, right? So we have to monitor ourselves, right? If you have that particular, if you associate mistake with a negative energy, we cannot be consistently, we cannot become a consistent winner. Okay, so for that we have to monitor ourselves, right? And and it will be difficult also, right? Because we will experience emotional pain, right? Because every time when you make an error, we experience emotional pain. We feel bad, we feel sad, we feel depressed, and all these things, right? Because and that is something which we have to monitor, right? And how to do it. The author is giving the next solution, right? You can work on acquiring a new set of positively charged beliefs about what it means to make a mistake, along with deactivating any negatively charged beliefs that would argue otherwise or cause you to think less of yourself for making a mistake. Okay. Number two, if you find this first choice undesirable, you can compensate for the potential to make errors by the way you set up your trading regime. This means that if you are going to trade and not monitor yourself, but at the same time you desire consistent results, then trading exclusively from the mechanical stage will resolve the dilemma. Okay. So there are three stages: mechanical stage and you know, the uh, what is the second stage? The second stage is subjective stage and the intuitive stage, right? So the author is telling that, how to remove the, what is it called, negatively charged context with making a mistakes. And obviously, when we make a mistakes, we get pain, and it is very difficult for us. So for that, author is saying that, you have two choices. The first choice is you have to develop some new beliefs, okay, and what it means to make a mistake, right? You have to read something, develop something. It's okay to make a mistake, things like that. Okay, along with deactivating any negatively charged beliefs also. Okay, so that would argue otherwise or cause you to think less of yourself, right? So basically, you have to deactivate the negatively charged beliefs and also activate the new beliefs. So that would make us, think less of yourself. Okay, this is one way of, addressing, removing the negatively charged. Basically, that belief is there. but you have to activate the newer belief. Okay. If first choice is not there, if it is not, if it is difficult, or if you don't want to do it, how you can compensate for the making errors by setting up your trading regime. Okay. So trading rules system, right? So you are not going to do any calculation. Okay. So you basically have a system. You simply follow that system mechanically, blindly. So whenever, say for example, you can take something like the Camarilla S3 R3 trades. So whenever it comes to R3, you do a P, buy a PE. Whenever it comes to S3, buy a CE. Okay, based on some, some, you have some stop loss. That's all. So that is the mechanical stage. You have to keep on doing that. If you keep on doing that, then it will help you resolve this dilemma. So these are two tricks he's telling. Otherwise, learning how to monitor yourself is a relatively simple process once you have rid yourself of negatively charged energy associated with mistakes. In fact, it is easy. All you have to do is decide why you want to monitor yourself, which means you first need to have a clear purpose in mind. When you're clear about your purpose, simply start directing your attention to what you think, say, or do. If and when you notice that you are not focused on your objective or on the incremental steps to accomplish your objective, choose to redirect your thoughts, words, or actions in a way that is consistent with what you are trying to accomplish. Keep redirecting as often as necessary. The more willfully you engage in this process, especially if you can do it with some degree of conviction, the faster you will create a mental framework free to function in a way that is consistent with your objectives without any resistance from conflicting beliefs. Okay. So the author gave two choices. One is you create new beliefs. Other one is or be very mechanical or mechanically follow a trading system. Okay. Then if you don't, if you do these things, either of these things, then it is very, very easy, right? How you monitor yourself is actually very easy because you have no longer, you are now having the negative energy associated with mistakes, right? Then you will just, there is no negative energy right now. You make a mistake, it's a mistake, right? You have a new, either you take the first choice, like, it's okay to make a mistake, have a new belief. It's okay, I'm in the learning phase, it's not okay to make mistakes. I will learn, I'll become better, or this is just stepping, all those kind of positive, associations, or you follow something which is very mechanical, right? Then what will happen? You have to ask yourself why you want to monitor yourself, right? Because why you will monitor? Because you want to reach somewhere, right? So you want to have a goal. So that is when you will start monitoring yourself, right? So that is what, that is the purpose. Okay. So what is when your purpose is clear, you start directing your attention to what you think, say, or do. Okay. If and when you notice that you are not focused on your objective or on the incremental steps to accomplish your objective, choose to redirect your thoughts, words, or actions in a way that is consistent with what you are trying to accomplish. So, whenever you think that you are not towards that objective, that purpose, okay, we have to choose, we have to put some efforts, thoughts, and words which is consistent with that particular uh, you know goal. So if it is drifting away, try to keep on pulling it back, put that effort, put that focus, put that extra energy needed to focus, right? The more we engage in this process, and especially if you can do it with some degree of conviction, the faster you will create the mental framework free to function in a way that is consistent with your objectives without any resistance from conflicting beliefs. Okay. The more we engage in this process, the faster we will have that mental framework. Okay. And what is that mental framework? That will prevent us having any resistance from conflicting beliefs. Okay. So I think we'll end this session today. I think we have already, we had 1 hour. We have the role of self-discipline and all these things we will take up in the, it's a kind of a very huge chapter, but it's okay. So we will take up in another day or two more days to complete this particular final chapter. So before we go, I'll try to revise what exactly we learned. So the author is trying to tell that, if you have to think like a trader, and there are a couple of stages. The first one is the mechanical stage, where you basically you trust yourself to work in an unlimited environment and you execute the trend system mechanically, and you always think in terms of probabilities, like anything can happen, all these things, and you have to be consistently keep doing that. That is the first. Second stage is the subjective stage, where you bring all your learning and all these things, and yeah, that is what you do. The third stage is the intuitive stage, where it is very advanced stage, where you need a lot of intuition. It is something which you don't develop from the rational mind, but it comes out of creative thinking. And the author says about the mechanical stage, where you have to keep on you know telling to yourself that your primary source is going to be, I will become a consistently successful trader. That should be the source of energy. That should be the belief which you should have. And to develop that uh, belief, you have to transform yourself. And for that transformation, you need three things. One is the willingness to change, the intentions of your, the clarity of your, how clear your intentions are, and how strong your desires are. Okay. And for these three things, you have to first observe yourself. And when observing, ensure that you are not judging yourself, because we are not judging any mistakes with criticism, because what will happen, that will again uh, become a belief that will reinforce uh, our negatively charged energy. And again, what will happen, you will have self sabotaging thoughts that you are a screw up and all these things. So stop telling to yourself that mistakes are bad, and stop telling others, stop telling, because we have been brought up by our parents and the teachers and all these things, who are all telling that. And that is why we are having that fear, right? We don't want to uh, we don't want to you know make a mistake. So the minute you stop telling those things, you will start behaving, which is just which will make you in a learn from the mistakes. Or even if you make it, you don't look at mistakes as something which is bad. There is not negative source of energy associated with it. And how to do that? You can have two things. One is like change the belief, have a new belief, and basically you deactivate the old belief. So what's a new belief? It's okay to make mistakes. It's, oh, I am just in the learning phase, and it is only by making mistakes I will learn new things. So there is nothing wrong. No, nothing is going to happen. So this is one way by which you can change. The other way is to just do it, do something very mechanically, and it's like you follow the this, system, and with very small position size or something like that. Then you will start, that negatively charged energy with a mistake will actually go. And once that happens, it will automatically, you will start observing yourself. Then, because why you will observe? Because you want to have some goal, you want to have some purpose, right? So, and as a result, you will keep on moving towards that goal. So what is the goal in our case? Consistently successful trader. So that is the goal we have, right? So you will keep on moving your attention and brain and focus towards that, and you will stop. And even if it deviates, even if it distracts, you will put some more effort to bring that particular focus into picture. And the more we do, the more we will faster we will learn, and the more consistent our objective will be, the more we become consistent trader. Okay. So with this, we will end today's session. We'll read about the role of self-discipline and other things in tomorrow's session. So thank you, Rakesh ji, thank you, Sridhar, for continuing to participate. Much appreciated. We'll have this session continue it tomorrow. Okay. Good night. Bye.